Hello, everyone. Excuse me. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest gaming news of the past week. This is episode 318, and I am your host, Sean Hayes. So took last week off. There wasn't a lot of gaming news, like really big gaming news. And just was having a rough time last week, so just needed to take the week off. Thank you for your patience. Not a lot of news topics this week, but Blizzard did do a big like Warcraft celebration type thing. So we got a bunch from that. So this will mainly be a Warcraft focused episode this week. So just a heads up on that. So, and I've mostly been playing Dredge this week. It was on sale on Steam, and it had been in my on my wish list for a while. And then it was also on sale on Switch. So, I ended up picking up both of Steam and Switch. And I gotta say it's a great little game. So, yeah, hats off to the development team on that. It's like they made a game for me. So, for folks who have been listeners for a while, know I am a big fan of fishing mechanics in games. But like not like fishing games. Like I don't care. I don't want to play Bass Pro Hunter. But you know, you put fishing mechanics in Zelda or Stardew Valley or Fire Emblem Three Houses or if somebody will please bring Breath of Fire 3 to any sort of, like to bring it to Steam. So that if I really want to play it, I don't have to go to some sketchy website that, like, I don't know, has a ROM dump of the game on it or something. I don't know. Yeah, and I think I don't know if it's Capcom. Like Capcom, put it out on every platform. Just do it. So anyway, so Dredge is a fishing game. But it's you have like a fishing boat, and it's all like inventory management and equipment management, and then little mini games. I do like that there's different mini games based on the kind of fish. And that although it doesn't have seasons, it does have like different locations around the map. And then within those locations, there's like different zone types. So like coastal, shallow, abyssal, and then like later on, the zones will have their own unique type, like mangrove or volcanic. Or you might have to use crab pots, or you might have to use trawling nets instead of fishing poles. So it's a great game. It's also a spooky game, so there's all sorts of like, elder god, Cthulhu like elements to it. And that adds a little bit of a fun. So there's also a little bit of horror to it. But it's not scary. It's spooky. So the art style's great. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. Little impromptu review there. I'd be remiss to not talk about it. I also picked up, there was a 7th Sea Humble Bundle. So for $18, you get all of the books for 2nd edition, which seems absurd to me. Granted, they're the digital files, but still, like, God, I love 7th Sea. I want to, and I never get to play, and I really want to play. So, friends of mine who do play 7th Sea or want to run 7th Sea that are listeners, uh, reach out, please, please. I I I need to I need to send my Inish knight errant on a monster slaying adventure in Eisen. Please make that happen for me. uh, so yeah, so that's what I got going on. Why don't we get into the news this week? So first up, yesterday was the release of Azurite Sea, Lorcana's Set 6. This features pirates, inventors, aliens, robots, inventor synergy, item synergy, uh, some location mechanics, or location interactions, I should say. There are no new mechanics. Um, uh, so yeah, I mean, community had been like the subreddit had been a little uh mellow, I will say, on its reaction, but I don't know. I have a bunch of tools that I'm very excited for. Didn't pull any of them from my initial stuff. But one thing to note is, and they started with the promo lore counters for set 5, is Ravensburger is now doing character art on the lore counters that come included with either your promos or the troves. So for those watching, you can see the image here of Stitch Pirate Captain. But for audio listeners, it's adorable artwork of Stitch in a pirate outfit wielding like wooden swords and plasma blasters and stuff. And that is the artwork that is featured on the lore counter in the Trove. The dividers in the Trove also feature character art on them. So that's cool. I think they should do that going forward. And keep it to the different ink colors, instead of like doing the weird rarity thing that they tried a while back. So yeah, again, I didn't pull anything super exciting, unfortunately. So I did have to shell out already for cards that I need for my deck. And we'll see. I don't like having to already get cards like on day one, because nobody knows what the prices will do. But yeah, so Azurite Sea out now. We'll definitely see. I don't know if inventors will be a big meta archetype, but I'm very curious. I think there's definitely some interesting deck concepts to work with there. And then aggro got a lot of like really aggro focused cards, and now every color has some access to aggro. So I think we'll see more of that. I know aggro tends to be a very inexpensive way for people to get into a competitive meta deck, even if it's not a top performer. And if played well, can actually contend against like a control heavy matchup. So very curious. We'll see about that. I don't know what I will be constructing for the set 6 championships yet. I don't know if my current deck will survive. So yeah. So available at your local game stores. I believe Big Box is still. I'll have to look this up. Yes. So as has been the case with previous sets, it is available at local hobby and game stores and Disney parks. Then mass release to retail is Black Friday. So that's interesting. uh, and somewhat horrifying. So yeah. So if you're going to be out Black Friday shopping, that is when you'll be able to pick up Azurite Sea at like Walmart, Target, etc., etc. Next up, Polygon reports had an exclusive for the announcement that for fans of Dropout and Dimension 20, you probably are familiar with Never Stop Blowing Up. For those who aren't, this is a kids on bikes sort of mod hack that has been modified for 80s action movies. And it's like absurd. It's over the top. The show is off the rails in episode 1. So it's it was so much fun to watch. And so they decided to release the rules for free. So the rules are available on the Dropout store. You can download them. They do caution that it is not like the rule set was made for good TV. It was not made to be a well-balanced, thoughtful type game. So they do caution that. I think as long as you know that going into it, I don't know if that really matters. Because I think if you are going to play a game called Never Stop Blowing Up, you have to set some expectations to the side of, we know what we're getting into. This is going to be absurd. This is going to be off the wall, and we'll lean into it. I think this will work best. Like, I don't think this will work for if you're looking for, like a multi-year campaign, like people tend to do with D&D. I don't think this is going to work for that. But you want to do like, maybe like a 4-part miniseries or a one-shot. This is right up there. And especially if you're big fans of, I think the examples that they did in the show were Fast and the Furious, Die Hard, James Bond. Trying to think of what else. I know like Kingpin, but it was like Kingpin mixed with like Scarface. But like Predator would be right up there as fitting in with this. So yeah, if you want a really absurd game to run in that genre. I mean, also, if it turns out you play it and you don't like it, it's free. So it's not like you spent a bunch of money to get the rules. So yeah, that is available now for free. And I guess for people that aren't familiar with the show, the central mechanic around Never Stop Blowing Up is that all of your dice. So you use different dice for rolling, not just like a D20. And all of your stats are assigned a die value. So, and I believe they all start at D4s. How you progress that is you can either, in between sessions or in between adventures or whatever, you can spend points to kick your die up to the next step. Or if when you roll, you get the maximum result, your die blows up, so you roll it again at the next highest step, and then your die also permanently goes up one step. And then you can also get like other abilities to modify your dice or share dice or substitute dice for other things. And when you fail, you get tokens that you can then use to spend on your stuff in between sessions. That's a mechanic that I really like. I think I almost want to try and adapt something like that to D&D. Of like when you fail at something, you get some sort of thing, so that, because like D&D has the binary success or failure. They are starting to move away from that, but still largely has a binary success failure type thing, that when you fail, there's a lot of people that still don't like the outcome of, like, it's one thing to fail forward, but for a lot of stuff, like for attack rolls, like you fail and that's it. So to get something of value in exchange for failing might be interesting. But, and this is, I think that's a core mechanic in Kids with Bikes. So this just keeps it and kind of pushes it further with the absurd abilities that you get. So yeah, that's out now. I already downloaded it. I haven't taken a look at it yet, just because I have so many things going on. But yeah, if you like 80s action films, this is your jam. So, finally, the big news. Blizzard had a 30th anniversary of Warcraft celebration stream, announcement, direct, whatever you want to call it. Detailed bunch of stuff going on for Warcraft in general as a brand. In particular, they did a 2025 roadmap for World of Warcraft, which will include, talked about it before, Siren Isle, which is this winter. Plunderstorm's coming back, regardless of whether you liked it or not. And then kind of in between winter and spring, we will get Season 2, which is Undermine. So for those who don't know, Undermine is like the ancestral homeland of the goblins. It's a subterranean complex. And as part of that, getting a new raid tier, new delves, dungeons. There is a car mount that will have similar customizable options to the Delver's dirigible. The car will also, like, in order to, because it sounds like they're not going to have Skyflight. So, like, flying won't be a thing in Undermine. However, they're putting in similar mechanics to the car mount so that driving around will feel as engaging and active and dynamic as, riding on dragons. It will include drifting mechanics. So this just tells me that they really need to push like more compatibility with controllers, so that I can do Mario Kart mechanics with this drifting car mount. And I believe eventually the raid tier culminates with Gallywix, who was previously the Goblin faction leader. And then some minor content in between then. Summer will be Season 3. And of course, I need to pull up the image so I can read it. Okay, there we go. So after Undermine, Horrific Visions Revisited, so unfortunately they're coming back. Nightfall, Turbulent Timeways, new content and updates. Then in the summer, new world events, a new dungeon, new raid. Oh, Season 3, yeah. So updates to warbands, Brewfest update. So that's, I wouldn't call, Brewfest summer, but and then in the fall of next year, we'll get World of Warcraft Midnight, which is the next expansion, a reveal for it. New content and system updates. And then at the start of winter 2025, they've got a little Hearthstone icon here that's a different one. and they talked about player housing. If you are not, if you have not played World of Warcraft, or kept up with it, player housing was initially going to be a feature from day one. And during the initial development, it got scrapped. But it has been kind of on the radar for both Blizzard and players the whole time for the past 20 years. So the fact that it's being included in the roadmap and it's being pushed forward, and they did a trailer for it, this is a big deal. And a lot of folks are pointing out that, like, we had garrisons in Warlords of Draenor, which was kind of player housing. And I think, like, it shares a lot of the same systems, but it's not the same thing. So I think in order to keep it separate, like, in order to get away from that comparison, is I think Blizzard's got to do a couple things. This is also my wish list for player housing. Number one, don't have it be in one specific location, like the way garrisons were. Like, everybody who had a garrison, the garrisons were always located in the same spot. Have it be that there's, like, districts in each city, and maybe even in really popular iconic locations that aren't major cities. So, maybe like Astronar in Ashenvale. Maybe the Crossroads. But also include them in neutral locations, like in Ratchet or Booty Bay or Gadget Zan. I'm sure somebody out there actually can't do that now. I was gonna say wanted to put it in like the Cenarian Circle Enclave in Silithus, but that got wiped out with the sword. But like Feathermoon Stronghold. I know there's a couple places where there's like high elf little like encampments and towns. Like, have those be available. Like, have there be options where you can put your house, and then have the architecture change based on the surrounding architectural types, so that it blends in with where you put it. Just good. While it's one thing for like lots of customization, like if I want to put a house in Stormwind, make it look like houses in Stormwind. Like, don't put a big, gnomish thing in the middle of Stormwind. So yeah. Also, this would, you put player housing in Silvermoon City. This would get people to go to Silvermoon City, which is a thing that people lament. Or Belameth. Like, give us a reason to go to Belameth. So that's number one. Number two, let houses have minor quality of life features, like crafting tables. Do not have houses give major quality of life features, which in this day and age, like, that can be circumvented with engineering and mounts and stuff. So, like, it's less of a thing, but like, one of the reasons why the garrisons were like so isolating is that you could put a bank, an auction house, and like a bunch of stations to generate materials and stuff, so that if you were the kind of person to play the auction house game, you never had to leave your garrison. And like, because normally you would go sit by the auction house in a city, but you never had to leave. So I think give minor quality of life features, but still don't give so much that players still have to leave their house in order to interact with the game. and interact with the city at large. I think craftable furniture. Let professions do their thing, and have all sorts of craftable furniture. Also, for the quality of life features, don't have those quality of life stuff tied to expansion specific mechanics. Or if you're going to do that, make sure to have them constantly update or something. But I would rather not tie them to expansion specific things. Have them be tied to evergreen stuff. So that way, player housing doesn't become like garrisons, we're going to do this for this expansion and then it's going to go away. Or it'll stay in the game, but nobody will use it. Have it be easy to bring your friends, your guildmates, your party members to your house. Likewise, have there be a and I saw someone else recommend this, but a gating system to say, like, this is who can come visit my house. It's a set access level, essentially. Don't have player housing be limited. Don't do it. Don't turn it into like Final Fantasy XIV, where it costs millions of gold and a limited number of people can do it. And then basically you're just waiting for somebody to like log off for a month so that you can then snipe their property. Don't do it. I think there's one more, but that pretty much covers it. Just make it cool. Number one, give us a reason to use it. But then also make sure, because this is the downfall with a lot of player housing, is make sure that you still require people to go out and interact with the game at large. Like, have houses, like, don't do the Draenor thing and have houses generate crafting materials. Don't do it. Instead, like, if you want people to be able to show off like a garden, have the stuff in the garden be craftable using the herbs that you want to put in there. So yeah, player housing, very cool, very fun. All super excited for it. Can't wait. As a last bit, I talked on a previous or I don't know if I talked about it on a podcast or if I just shared the news. So there was like I don't think I put it on the podcast because it was kind of like if this is true, that blah blah blah, of like Warcraft 2, like a remaster of Warcraft 2 may be in development. Turns out it was true, because this past week, Warcraft and Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness got remasters and then are available now. They pulled a Nintendo and they said, hey, guess what? We remastered Warcraft 1. We remastered Warcraft 2. We did an overhaul on Warcraft 3 Reforged to make it not terrible. And they're all available now in the Blizzard store as a bundle for $40. So yeah, I think that's a great deal. Number one, because they could very easily have put each of those games out for $40. So Warcraft and Warcraft 2, they basically got like hand-drawn sprites. Like they didn't convert it to like fully 3D models like Warcraft 3. Like how Warcraft 3 was. So it's still like the 2D sprites, but they are hand-drawn. They look pretty good, I gotta say. And then they did a lot of fixes for Warcraft 3 to make it not terrible. So, yeah, that's available now. So that is going to wrap up our news for this week, just to throw that stuff out there. So, thank you all for joining me. If you'd like to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, you can check out our website at 8-bitadventures.com. If you'd like to help support that content, the best way to do so is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. big shout out, thank you to all of my current patrons for your continued support. Our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, we're going to sign off. So we will be back next week, but not the following week because I will be away for Thanksgiving. But we will be back next week. Hopefully there's some more gaming news. Don't know if there will be because we are... Like, people have already made their big announcements for the holiday season, so unless there's any surprise drops, we'll see. But as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.